Of inverse function. Let's say we have a function given that is f of x is equal to x square, and what the question is asking, what is the inverse function, that is f of minus 1 x of x. So to find the inverse function, what we do first is, we instead of f of x we can also write this one as y is equal to x square. Then what we do is we switch x with y and also y with x. So this is going to become x is equal to y square, and then we have to solve for y. So from this one, y is going to be plus or minus square root of x. How did we get plus or minus? Because to get rid of this square, we had to square root both sides. Since we are doing it both sides, we have to add plus or minus. So that is our y value. So that's going to be our inverse function, that's plus or minus square root of x. Okay, now let's go ahead and see the graphs. Like, let's see how it's going to look like in the graph. If I draw the graph of this square root of x, that's going to look like this in the positive axis. Okay, this is square root of x. Now let's look at the relation between the initial function. We found out f of x is equal to x square. That's our initial function that was given, and we found out the inverse, that is plus or minus square root of x. So the x square function looks like this. If I just draw the positive side of it, let's use a different color. So if I just draw the positive side of it, it's gonna be like this, right? It's a parabola opening up. And if you draw a line in between, like if you draw a line in the middle of this, the line is y is equal to x. So you can see these two functions, these two inverse functions, this function and inverse of it are symmetrical around this line right here, y is equal to x. So from this one, what we can also we can draw the rest of the part and see that that one as well. Like if I continue the y is equal to x square in the positive, in the negative x side, left side, this is gonna look like this. It's gonna be a parabola opening up. And if you continue this y is equal to square root of x in the negative y axis, it's gonna look like this. And if you look at the distance from this y is equal to x line, it's going to be equidistant, it's going to be equal. So this is also symmetrical around this line, y is equal to x. So the relationship between the function and inverse function, if you draw a line y is equal to x, that is symmetrical. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have let's remove this whole thing. Okay, so let's draw another one. Let's draw a line here. And let's draw a line that's y is equal to x. Let's say there's a line given like this. It's going, okay, I use a different color. It's going from here and then turning here and then turning here. So the question is find out the f inverse of x. How can you do that? You had to just, in order to find this one, what you had to do is you had to just flip this one, like you had to reflex this one in the axis, in the x is equal to 1 line. So if you reflex this one here, we are going to have this graph right here. So it's going to look like this. And this is the inverse function, that is f of -1 of x. Let's look at another one. Let's remove these things. Let's say there's a graph given like this. Okay, so let's say this is our graph like this. We have a graph, and this is our f of x function, and we want to know is f of inverse is a function. So first we have to know whether f of x is a function. To see whether f of x is a function, what we do is we do the vertical line test. And if we draw a vertical line, if it passes through only one line, let's use a different color. So if I draw a vertical line, if it just passes through one point at any place of the graph, it means that's a function. So if you draw a line here, so let's keep it this like a line, okay? So if you just draw a line here or anywhere in the graph, it just touches only one point at a time, right? So this is a function. Now to find out whether the inverse is a function, what we do is we do the horizontal line test. So if you draw a horizontal line for this, if you draw a horizontal line for this one, it can touch more than 1 point. So here you can see it touches this point, this point, this point. Therefore this is not a function. So if it doesn't pass, like if a graph doesn't pass the horizontal line test, it means the inverse of that function is not a function. So therefore this is not a function. Now let's look at the graph we did before. Okay, I'm gonna erase this one, or just erase this part right here. Okay, initially we have seen that y is equal to x square graph and y is equal to square root of x graph. Now let's look at the y is equal to x square graph. Y is equal to x square graph looks like this. It's a parabola opening up. I'm just looking at the values that's greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. So I'm just looking at this side, and this is our f of x. Now is this a function? If you draw a vertical line, it only touches 1 point at any time. So therefore f of x is a function. F of x is a function, right? And if you do the horizontal line test, it passes that one as well, because it only touches 1 point at a time. Therefore when this condition, when we have a condition that is x is greater than or equal to 0, then the inverse function also, the inverse function x inverse also a function, but it's only in this condition. Okay, now let's look at fully. Let's say we don't have any condition and we are going to draw the f of x square graph. Fx is equal to x square graph. The full version, full graph of this one is a parabola, right? Parabola. And is this a function? Yes, because if you draw any vertical line along this, it passes the horizontal, vertical line test. So it is a function, even though if it's fully, we took all the values. But does horizontal, so the full, does full values has inverse function? Does is f of inverse of x is a function or not? To do that, to find out that one, we draw a horizontal line. So if we draw a horizontal line, it's passing through more than one point. So this one doesn't exist for this one. And how does it look like? And we already know that inverse of this x square is plus or minus square root of x. Plus or minus square root of x look like this. It's gonna be symmetric around the y is equal to x. So it's gonna be like this. And then it's gonna go like this. And here also you can check double check this one. You can draw a horizontal vertical line, do a vertical line test for the inverse, and you can see this is not a function because it's passing more than one point at a time. So the horizontal is not a function when we don't have any condition. So f inverse of x is not a function as well. Not a function actually. And that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. See you guys on